HR called me in on a Tuesday morning. The kind of Tuesday where the fluorescent lights hum too loud and the coffee tastes like burnt regret. I'd been expecting something, budget cuts maybe, or another round of corporate restructuring, but not this. "We know you've been working 2 jobs," Linda from HR said, sliding a manila folder across her desk like it was evidence in a murder trial. "You're terminated effective immediately." I didn't argue, didn't even flinch, just smiled and said, "You're right, I should really focus on one." The look on her face was worth the whole damn meeting. Confusion mixed with suspicion, like she'd been preparing for a fight, and I'd just laid down my weapons. She glanced at Dale, the operations VP, who sat in the corner with his arms crossed, trying to look important. "That's it?" Dale asked. "No explanation? No defense?" I shrugged. "What's to defend? You caught me. I've been consulting on weekends. Guilty as charged." What they didn't know, what I wasn't about to tell them, was that my weekend consulting gig was completely legal. I'd checked the employee handbook 3 times, had a lawyer review my contract twice. There was nothing in my agreement that prohibited outside consulting as long as it didn't compete with company business. And the firm I'd been working with? They'd just offered me a senior director position starting next Monday. Better pay, better benefits, and I'd already accepted 2 weeks ago. I'd been planning to give my notice on Friday. They just saved me the trouble. "We'll need your badge and keys," Linda said, recovering her composure. She pushed a cardboard box across the desk, the universal symbol of corporate failure. I stood up, pulled my badge from my belt clip, and dropped it in the box with a satisfying clatter. The keys to the maintenance facility followed. 58 years old, and I was loading my life into a cardboard box like some kid who got caught stealing lunch money. "I'll need to clean out my office," I said. "Security will escort you," Dale said, standing up like he'd just won something. The walk through the building was supposed to be humiliating. That's how these things work. They make you do the perp walk past your coworkers, past the people you've supervised for 15 years, so everyone knows you're done. Finished. Yesterday's news. But I'd been the maintenance operations director here long enough to know most of these people personally. I'd fixed their offices when the heat broke, worked overtime during storms to keep the power running, covered shifts when they needed time off. So when we passed through the main corridor and heads started turning, I didn't see judgment. I saw confusion, concern. "What's going on, Hank?" Terry from facilities called out. "Just time for a change," I said, keeping my voice light. Security, a kid named Miguel, who I'd helped get hired 3 years ago, looked uncomfortable as hell walking beside me. "Sorry about this, Mr. Reynolds," Miguel muttered. "Not your fault, kid. Just doing your job." My office was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the parking lot where I'd spent too many mornings scraping ice off my windshield. 23 years with this company. 23 years of emergency calls at 2 a.m., of fixing problems that weren't mine to fix, of watching people less qualified get promoted while I kept the lights on. I filled the box with personal items, photos of my wife, Jenny, a coffee mug my son gave me 10 years ago that said "World's Best Dad" in peeling letters, a stress ball shaped like a wrench. None of it mattered. None of it was worth the cardboard it was sitting in. "All set?" Miguel asked. "All set." The drive home took 30 minutes through streets I knew by heart. Past the diner where I had lunch every Wednesday, past the hardware store where I bought supplies for weekend projects, past the cemetery where my parents were buried, side by side under an oak tree that was older than this town. Jenny's car was in the driveway when I pulled up. She wasn't supposed to be home. She taught part-time at the community college and usually had afternoon classes on Tuesdays. I sat in my truck for a moment, engine ticking as it cooled, and wondered what the hell I was going to say. The truth? That I'd been fired from a job I was already planning to quit? That I had a better position lined up and this was actually good news? Or should I let her worry for a minute? Let her think things were worse than they were, just to see how she'd react? I grabbed the box and headed inside. Jenny was in the kitchen, standing at the counter with her back to me. She was chopping vegetables for something, probably dinner, and the knife made sharp, rhythmic sounds against the cutting board. She didn't turn around when I came in. "You're home early," she said. I set the box on the kitchen table. The coffee mug rolled onto its side. She turned around then, saw the box, and her expression didn't change. That's when I knew she already understood. Jenny was always smarter than me about these things. She could read a room before she even walked into it, could sense trouble coming like animals sense earthquakes. "They fired you," she said, not a question. "Yeah." "The consulting work?" "That was their excuse." She wiped her hands on a dish towel and came over to the table, looking down at the box like it was a wounded animal. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I was going to quit anyway next week. New job starts Monday." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "The firm you've been working with?" "Senior director position, 20% raise, full benefits, and they're actually competent, unlike the geniuses I just left behind." She smiled then, just a little. "So why do you look like someone kicked your dog?" "Because they thought they were destroying me," I said. Dale had this look on his face, like he'd just won the Super Bowl. And Linda couldn't wait to slide that folder across the desk. They wanted me to beg. "But you didn't." "No." Jenny picked up the world's best dad mug and turned it in her hands. "When's the last time you talked to Patrick?" "Patrick. Our son. 29 years old, married 3 years, and always one phone call away from asking for money." The mug in Jenny's hands suddenly felt like an accusation. "Last week," I said. "He called about his car insurance, wanted to know if we could help." "Did you?" "Yeah." She set the mug back in the box gently, like it might break. "He hasn't called to just talk in 6 months. He's busy, they're busy, that's normal." "Is it?" Before I could answer, headlights swept across the kitchen window. A car pulled into the driveway behind my truck. I didn't need to look to know who it was. Patrick's silver Honda Civic, the one we'd co-signed on 2 years ago because his credit wasn't good enough on its own. "Speak of the devil," Jenny muttered. I heard 2 car doors slam. Patrick and his wife, Melissa, they were arguing about something before they even reached the front door. I could hear their voices carrying through the evening air, sharp and irritated. "We didn't call them," Jenny said quietly. "They just showed up." The doorbell rang. Once, then again immediately, impatient. I opened the door to find Patrick standing on the porch with his phone in his hand, Melissa slightly behind him holding a shopping bag from some expensive store I didn't recognize. Patrick looked like a younger version of me, same build, same dark hair starting to thin at the temples. But where I'd developed calluses and a permanent squint from years of maintenance work, Patrick had soft hands and the kind of casual posture that came from never having to fix anything himself. "Dad," he said, not quite making eye contact. "We were in the neighborhood. Thought we'd stop by." Melissa pushed past him into the house, already talking. "I told him we should call first, but he insisted. You know how he is." She kissed the air near my cheek, a gesture that looked more like an obligation than affection. "We weren't in the neighborhood," Patrick said, following her inside. "I told you we should be honest." "Oh, now you want to be honest?" Melissa shot back. They moved into the living room like they owned the place, Melissa dropping onto the couch with an exaggerated sigh, Patrick pacing near the window. I closed the door and exchanged a look with Jenny. Her expression said everything. Here we go again. "We heard about your job," Patrick said, still looking at his phone. "Dale posted something on social media about restructuring, said some people couldn't keep up with company policy." My hands clenched involuntarily. Dale hadn't wasted any time spreading his version of events. Of course, he'd gone to social media. That's how you claim victory these days. You don't just win, you broadcast it to everyone you've ever met. "It's fine," I said. "I have another position lined up." Oh, good, Melissa said, examining her nails. Because we were worried. I mean, at your age, getting fired can be really hard. The job market isn't exactly kind to older workers. At my age, I was 58, not 80, but to Melissa, anyone over 30 might as well be prehistoric. Jenny appeared in the doorway between the kitchen and living room, still holding the dish towel. Can I get anyone something to drink? Water would be great, Melissa said. Filtered if you have it. Tap water gives me headaches. Jenny's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but she headed back to the kitchen without comment. Patrick finally looked up from his phone. So what happened, Dad? Really? I told him the short version. The HR meeting, the accusation about working 2 jobs, the immediate termination. I left out the part about them thinking they'd destroyed me, about Dale's smug satisfaction. No need to sound bitter. That's illegal, Patrick said immediately. You should sue them. Wrongful termination, age discrimination. We could probably get a settlement. It's not wrongful termination if I was planning to quit anyway. But they don't know that. You could still— I'm not suing anyone, I said firmly. I'm starting a new job Monday. Better company, better pay. This is actually good news. Melissa laughed, a sharp sound like breaking glass. Better pay? That's lucky. Because, well— She glanced at Patrick meaningfully. We're having some financial difficulties, Patrick said, finally putting his phone in his pocket. Nothing serious, just some unexpected expenses, car repairs, medical bills, that kind of thing. We were hoping you could help, Melissa added quickly. Just a loan. We'll pay you back, of course, as soon as things stabilize. I'd heard this song before. The lyrics changed. Car repairs became student loans. Medical bills became credit card debt. But the melody stayed the same. They needed money. They always needed money. How much? I asked. 5,000. Jenny appeared in the doorway with Melissa's water, but she didn't hand it over, just stood there holding it, watching. That's a lot for unexpected expenses, I said. It's been a rough few months, Patrick said defensively. We've had a lot going on. Like what? Like none of your business, Melissa snapped, then caught herself and softened her tone. I mean, we don't want to burden you with the details. You have your own problems now. The way she said it made it clear. My firing wasn't just news to them. It was entertainment. Something to discuss with their friends over brunch, to post about on social media with concerned emoji faces while secretly enjoying the drama. I need to think about it, I said. Patrick's face fell. Seriously? Dad, we wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I said I need to think about it. Melissa stood up abruptly, snatching the water glass from Jenny's hand. Fine, think about it. But don't take too long. We have bills due. She headed toward the door, Patrick trailing behind her with his phone out again. We'll call you tomorrow, Patrick said. Thanks for understanding. They were gone before I could respond, their car backing out of the driveway too fast, gravel spitting from under the tires. Jenny closed the door and locked it with a decisive click. She stood there for a moment, her hand on the deadbolt, her back to me. They knew, she said quietly. Knew what? About your firing, before you told them, before you even got home. She turned around, and her expression was darker than I'd seen in years. Patrick said Dale posted on social media, but how did Patrick know to check Dale's social media? How did he know to look? I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Maybe he follows him. Maybe they're friends online. Dale is 60 years old and works in operations. Patrick is 29 and works in retail. Why would they be connected on social media? She was right. I knew she was right, but I didn't want to think about what that meant. They came here to check on you, Jenny continued, to see how bad off you were. Not to help, to assess. Like vultures circling. You're being paranoid. Am I? She walked back into the kitchen, and I followed. She opened her laptop, which had been sitting on the counter the whole time, and turned the screen toward me. I saw Dale's post while you were talking to them. Look at the timestamp. The post was from 9:47 a.m., almost an hour before I'd gotten home. Now look at this, Jenny said, clicking to another window. It was Patrick's social media feed, a post from 10:15 a.m. Worried about my dad. Some days you realize your parents aren't as invincible as you thought. Prayers appreciated. He'd posted it before he knew whether I had another job, before he knew if I was okay. He'd turned my firing into social media sympathy points while I was still driving home. Maybe he was just concerned, I said weakly. Jenny closed the laptop. Or maybe he saw an opportunity. For what? For exactly what happened tonight. They show up, express concern, mention their financial problems, and ask for money. If you're desperate, you say no, and they look like the caring kids who tried to help. If you're okay, which you are, then they get what they really came for. $5,000. I wanted to argue with her. Wanted to defend my son, to say she was reading too much into innocent actions. But the timeline didn't lie. Patrick had known about my firing before I'd told anyone, had posted about it publicly, had shown up at my door within hours asking for money. I'm going to take a shower, I said. I needed space to think, needed hot water and silence to process what Jenny had just shown me. Hank, she called as I headed for the stairs. I stopped, but didn't turn around. I'm not trying to make you feel worse. I'm trying to make you see clearly. I know. The shower helped. 40 minutes underwater, hot enough to turn my skin red, washing away the smell of the office, the feeling of Dale's smug satisfaction, the confusion of Patrick's visit. By the time I got out, the bathroom mirror was completely fogged, and I felt almost human again. I threw on sweatpants and a t-shirt and headed downstairs. Jenny was in the living room, reading a book, but I could tell she wasn't really seeing the words. Her eyes had that distant look she got when she was working through a problem. I'm not giving them the money, I said. She looked up. I didn't say you shouldn't. But you were thinking it. I was thinking, she said carefully, that you've given them money 17 times in the last 3 years. Car payments, rent, medical bills, utility deposits. Every time they promised to pay you back, how much have they actually returned? I didn't answer. We both knew it was zero. I'm not saying don't help your son, Jenny continued. I'm saying maybe it's time to stop enabling him. Enabling, I repeated. That's a strong word. Is it? He's 29 years old. He has a job. So does Melissa. But every time they run into the slightest difficulty, they call you. And you fix it, every single time. That's what parents do. No, she said firmly. That's what you do. My parents never handed me money every time I had a problem. They taught me to solve problems. There's a difference. I sat down on the couch next to her, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline from the day was wearing off, leaving behind a bone-deep tiredness that had nothing to do with physical work. When did it get like this? I asked. Honestly, I think it's always been like this. We just pretended it wasn't. My phone buzzed. A text message from Patrick. Hey, talk to Melissa. We really need an answer about the loan by tomorrow. Things are more urgent than we thought. I showed Jenny the message. She read it and handed the phone back without comment. Tomorrow, I said. They need an answer by tomorrow, not next week. Not when I start my new job and know what my finances look like. Tomorrow. That's not a loan request, Jenny said. That's a demand. I turned off my phone and set it on the coffee table. I need to sleep. My head feels like it's going to split open. Go, Jenny said. I'll lock up. I made it halfway up the stairs before I heard her voice again, quiet but clear. They knew before you did, Hank. Think about what that means. I did think about it. Lying in bed in the dark, listening to the house settle around me, I thought about nothing else. How did Patrick know about my firing so quickly? Who told him? And more importantly, why had he immediately turned it into a social media post and a money request? Sleep didn't come easy. When it finally did, I dreamed of cardboard boxes and empty offices and my son's face laughing at something I couldn't hear. I woke up Wednesday morning to the smell of coffee and bacon. Jenny was already up, had probably been up for hours. She had that ability to function on minimal sleep, to process stress by staying busy. I stumbled downstairs in yesterday's clothes to find her making breakfast like it was any other morning. "You didn't have to do this," I said. "I know. Sit." I sat. She put a plate in front of me, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, and poured coffee into my mug. The one from the box, the one that said, "World's Best Dad." She must have washed it last night. "What's the plan?" she asked, sitting down across from me with her own coffee. "Plan? For today, for Patrick, for the next week. You always have a plan." I ate some eggs while I thought about it. She was right. I always did have a plan. 23 years in maintenance operations meant always thinking 3 steps ahead. What breaks next? What needs replacing? What's going to fail before anyone notices it's failing? "I start the new job Monday," I said. "Between now and then, I'm going to enjoy being unemployed for the first time since I was 16. Maybe I'll fix that fence in the backyard, clean out the garage, catch up on sleep." "And Patrick?" "I'll call him later. Tell him I can't loan him the money right now. Transitioning jobs, need to see how the finances shake out, the usual." Jenny nodded slowly. "Okay. You don't sound convinced." "I'm not. But it's your decision." My phone was buzzing on the coffee table where I'd left it. 7 new messages, all from Patrick. I didn't need to read them to know what they said. More urgency, more pressure, maybe some guilt mixed in for good measure. "I'm going to shower," I said, leaving the phone where it was. By the time I was cleaned up and dressed, it was almost 10. I'd missed 3 calls from Patrick and 2 from Melissa. There was also a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it without listening, but something made me hit play. "Mr. Reynolds, this is Amanda Chen from Blackstone Consulting. I wanted to confirm your start date next Monday and discuss your onboarding schedule. Please call me back at your earliest convenience." Blackstone. My new employer. The job that made all of this bearable. I called her back immediately. Amanda was efficient and professional. She walked me through the schedule. Monday morning orientation, Tuesday I'd meet my team, Wednesday I'd be thrown into my first project. It was exactly what I needed. Structure, purpose, a reason to get up in the morning that didn't involve fixing someone else's mistakes. "We're excited to have you," Amanda said. "Your experience in operations management is exactly what we've been looking for. Mr. Blackstone specifically requested you for the Riverside Development Project. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and one more thing. We'll need you to fill out some paperwork. I'm emailing you the links now. If you could have everything submitted by Friday, that would be perfect." I hung up feeling better than I had in months. This was real. This was happening. Whatever drama was unfolding with Patrick and Melissa, I had something bigger to focus on. Jenny was in the backyard when I went looking for her, pulling weeds from the flower garden she'd been working on all summer. She looked up when I approached. "New job called," I said. "Everything's confirmed for Monday." "Good." She went back to pulling weeds. "I'm going to call Patrick now. Get it over with." "Want me to be there?" "No. This is something I should do alone." I went back inside and picked up my phone, scrolling through Patrick's increasingly frantic messages. The most recent one was from 10 minutes ago. "Dad, seriously, we need to know. Call me." I hit dial before I could change my mind. He answered on the first ring. "Finally. I've been trying to reach you all morning." "I know. I was busy." "Too busy to answer your son's calls?" The guilt trip was immediate and reflexive. It had been Patrick's favorite tactic since he was a teenager. "Can't go to my game? Too busy for your son? Can't help with my homework? Guess I'm not important enough." "I had a call with my new employer," I said. "We were finalizing details." "Oh, well, that's good, I guess. So you have the money then?" What? For the loan. You're starting a new job, so you can help us out. The logic was stunning in its simplicity. I had a job, therefore I had money, therefore I should give it to him. Never mind that I hadn't actually started yet. Never mind that I'd just been fired and might need to maintain some financial cushion. The only thing that mattered was his need. Patrick, I said carefully, I'm not going to be able to loan you the money right now. Silence on the other end. Then, you're kidding. I'm in between jobs. I need to see how my finances look after I start at Blackstone. After? Dad, we need help now, not after. We have bills due this week. Then you'll need to figure out another solution. Another solution? Like what? We've already cut back on everything. We're barely making rent. What do you expect us to do? I expect you to handle your own financial situation. You're almost 30 years old. The words came out harsher than I intended, but they were true. He was almost 30. He had a job. He had a wife who worked. Between the two of them, they should have been able to cover their basic expenses without calling me every month. I can't believe this, Patrick said, his voice rising. You're really going to let us struggle while you're sitting on a cushy new job? I don't start until Monday, and when I do, I'll have my own expenses to worry about. Like what? You and Mom have lived in that house for 30 years. Your mortgage is practically nothing. What expenses do you possibly have? I felt my jaw clench. That's none of your concern. None of my concern? I'm your son. Family is supposed to help each other. I've helped you 17 times in 3 years, Patrick. 17. And you haven't paid back a single dollar. Because we haven't been able to. Things have been tight. You know that. Then maybe you need to make some changes. Get a better job. Cut unnecessary expenses. Move somewhere cheaper. Are you serious right now? You want us to move? I want you to solve your own problems without calling me every time something goes wrong. Melissa's voice cut in from the background. Is he seriously saying no? After everything we've done for them? Everything they'd done for us? I tried to remember a single instance of Patrick or Melissa helping us with anything. Coming over for holidays didn't count. Showing up at our house uninvited didn't count. What had they actually done? I have to go, I said. Dad, wait. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never cut him off like that before. Never just ended a conversation when he was still talking. It felt wrong and right at the same time. My phone rang immediately, Patrick calling back. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. A text message appeared. We need to talk about this in person. I'm coming over. I showed Jenny the message. She read it and said, Good. Let him come. Let's see what he really wants. What do you mean? I mean, if he really needed $5,000 for bills, he'd be scrambling to find other solutions right now. But instead, he's focused on coming here to argue with you. That tells me this isn't about bills. This is about something else. Like what? I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. They arrived an hour later. This time they didn't knock. Patrick had a key. I'd given it to him years ago for emergencies, and he used it like he owned the place. I heard the front door open, heard their voices in the hallway, angry and sharp. Jenny and I were in the living room. We'd been sitting there for the past hour, waiting, not talking. Sometimes after 3 decades of marriage, you don't need to fill silence with words. Patrick stormed into the living room with Melissa right behind him. His face was red, whether from anger or from the heat outside, I couldn't tell. We need to talk, he said. So talk, I replied. Not like this. Not with you acting like we're strangers asking for a handout. We're family. Family who only shows up when they need money. Melissa gasped like I'd slapped her. That's not fair. We visit all the time. Really? When was the last time you came over just to see us? No birthday, no holiday, no phone call asking for help first? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Patrick for support. That's not the point, Patrick said. "The point is, we're in trouble, and you're refusing to help." "I'm not refusing to help. I'm refusing to enable your poor financial choices. There's a difference." "Poor financial choices." His voice went up an octave. "What the hell do you know about our choices? I know you've asked me for money 17 times in 3 years. I know you and Melissa both work full-time jobs. I know you drive new cars and take vacations and eat out constantly based on your social media. So, yeah, I think I know something about your choices." Melissa's face went from shocked to furious in seconds. "You've been stalking our social media?" "It's public, Melissa. That's how social media works. You post it for the world to see, the world gets to see it." "This is unbelievable," Patrick said. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair. "We came here for help, and you're attacking us." "I'm stating facts." "Facts?" He spun around to face me. "You want facts? Here's a fact. You've been working 2 jobs for months, hiding money from Mom, and now you're acting like you're broke when you just got offered a senior position. That's called lying, Dad." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Jenny's head turned slowly toward Patrick, her expression unreadable. "I wasn't hiding money from your mother," I said carefully. "She knew about the consulting work." "Did she?" Melissa said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Because that's not what Dale said." "Dale? What does Dale have to do with this?" Patrick and Melissa exchanged a look. It was quick, but I caught it. A look that said they'd said too much. "Nothing," Patrick said quickly. "Forget I mentioned it." "No," Jenny said, speaking for the first time since they'd arrived. "Don't forget it. Tell us what Dale said." Melissa shifted uncomfortably. "It's not important." "Tell us." "Fine," Patrick said. "Dale mentioned that you'd been hiding side work from the company, that it was a violation of your contract, that you'd probably hidden the money from Mom too because you were planning to leave her." The room went very, very quiet. I could hear the grandfather clock in the hallway ticking, could hear a car passing outside, could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "Dale told you I was planning to leave your mother? He implied it. When did he tell you this?" Another exchanged look between Patrick and Melissa. "Last week," Patrick admitted. "Last week," I repeated. "Before I was fired. He said something was coming, that you'd made some bad choices and there would be consequences." Jenny stood up. I'd never seen her move so deliberately, so controlled. She walked over to Patrick until she was standing directly in front of him, looking up at him with an expression that could cut glass. "Your father's boss," she said, her voice deadly quiet, "told you last week that something bad was going to happen to your father, and you didn't warn him, you didn't call, you didn't ask if he was okay. You waited until after he was fired, then came here asking for money." Patrick stepped back. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "Dale said, he said Dad had gotten too comfortable, that he was taking advantage of the company's resources, that he needed to be taught a lesson about loyalty." "And you believed him?" "I don't know. I didn't know what to believe. Dale's a VP. He wouldn't lie about something like that." I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break, not yet, but definitely crack. My own son had heard that I was in trouble, and his first thought wasn't to warn me or help me. It was to wait and see what happened, to assess the damage, to figure out how it might affect him. "Get out," I said. "Dad, get out of my house." "You don't mean that." "I mean it more than I've meant anything in my life. Take your key, put it on the table, and get out." Melissa grabbed Patrick's arm. "Let's go. They're not going to help us anyway." "We came here to help you," Patrick said, his voice breaking slightly. "To check on you, to make sure you were okay." "No," Jenny said. "You came here to see how desperate we were. You came here to assess what you could get from us. And when you found out we were fine, you switched to asking for money. Don't pretend this was about concern." Patrick pulled out his key ring and removed our house key. He didn't put it on the table. He threw it. and it skittered across the hardwood floor, ending up against the baseboard near the fireplace. "You're going to regret this," he said. I doubt it. They left. The front door didn't slam. That would have been too dramatic. But it closed with a decisive click that somehow felt worse. Jenny sat back down on the couch. I stayed standing, watching through the front window as Patrick's car backed out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. "They knew," I said. "They knew I was going to be fired before it happened." "Yes." Dale told them. Why would Dale tell them? "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." She opened her laptop again, fingers moving across the keyboard with purpose. I knew that look. Jenny might have taught literature at the community college, but she'd grown up in an age before the internet made everything easy. She knew how to research, how to dig, how to find connections that people thought they'd hidden. "What are you doing?" "Looking," she said. "Dale has a social media presence. So does Patrick. So does Melissa. If they've been talking, there will be evidence. That's an invasion of privacy." She looked up at me, one eyebrow raised. "They invaded ours first. Turnabout is fair play." I sat down next to her and watched as she pulled up profile after profile, scrolling through posts and comments and connections. It took her 20 minutes to find what she was looking for. "There," she said, pointing at the screen. "Look at the mutual friends." Dale and Patrick had 47 mutual friends, which made no sense, because they moved in completely different circles. Dale was in his 60s, worked in corporate operations, lived in the expensive neighborhood across town. Patrick was 29, worked retail management, lived in a modest apartment on the east side. But there they were, dozens of shared connections. And when Jenny clicked through them, a pattern emerged. Most of them were people who worked at my now former company, people I'd supervised, people who'd reported to me. "They've been talking about you," Jenny said. "Dale and Patrick, behind your back. For months, probably. But why? I don't know yet. But look at this." She clicked on a comment from 3 weeks ago on one of Dale's posts about company loyalty. Patrick had commented, "Some people learn the hard way." Dale had responded, "Indeed they do." "That's not proof of anything," I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to me. "It's proof that they're connected, that they've been communicating, that whatever happened to you at work, Patrick knew it was coming." She closed the laptop. "The question is, did he just know about it, or did he help make it happen?" I wanted to tell her she was being paranoid, wanted to say that my own son wouldn't conspire against me with my boss. But the evidence was right there, black pixels on a white screen, impossible to deny. "Why?" I asked. "What would he possibly gain from me getting fired?" "I don't know, but I think we need to find out." We spent the rest of the day in a kind of silent tension, both of us processing what we'd learned. Patrick called twice more. I didn't answer. Melissa sent a long text message that I deleted without reading. By evening, I felt hollowed out, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical work. "I'm ordering pizza," Jenny announced at 6. "I'm not cooking tonight." "Fine with me." We ate in front of the TV, watching some mindless show neither of us cared about. The pizza was good, from the local place that made everything from scratch, but I barely tasted it. My mind kept circling back to that comment. Some people learn the hard way. What lesson was I supposed to be learning? And who decided I needed to learn it? My phone buzzed one more time before I went to bed. Another message from Patrick. "You're making a mistake, Dad. Starting tomorrow, Mom, you eat your own food. Stop thinking I'm going to support some old woman." I stared at that message for a long time, reading it over and over, trying to make sense of the words. Starting tomorrow? Support some old woman? What the hell was he talking about? I showed it to Jenny. Her face went pale. "That's not about the loan," she said. "That's about something else. Something bigger." "Like what?" "I don't know. But Hank? I think we need to be very careful. I think Patrick and Melissa are planning something. I wanted to tell her she was overreacting, but looking at that message, at the casual cruelty in dismissing his own mother as some old woman, I couldn't, because she was right. This was bigger than a loan request. This was bigger than hurt feelings about being told no. This was something else entirely, and I had no idea what was coming next. As the story unfolds, hit the hype button, like, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive them? Or walk away? Thursday morning arrived with the kind of gray sky that promised rain but never delivered. I woke up early, old habits from decades of maintenance work, and found Jenny already in the kitchen, laptop open, coffee going cold beside her. How long have you been up? I asked. Since 4. She didn't look away from the screen. Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about that message. I poured myself coffee and looked over her shoulder. She had Patrick's social media open, scrolling through posts from the past 6 months. Nothing jumped out at me. The usual selfies, food photos, complaints about work, normal millennial stuff. What are you looking for? I'm not sure yet, but there's something here. I can feel it. She clicked on a photo from 2 months ago. Patrick and Melissa at some restaurant, fancy plates in front of them, expensive cocktails. The caption read, "Celebrating new opportunities." What new opportunities? Jenny muttered. Maybe he got a promotion. He would have told us. Patrick loves bragging about his accomplishments. She scrolled further. More restaurant photos, more vacation pictures, a new watch, new clothes. For someone who claimed to be broke, Patrick and Melissa were living pretty well. They're in debt, I said. All of this is probably on credit cards. Probably. But look at the timing. She pulled up a spreadsheet. Of course she'd made a spreadsheet. With dates and amounts. Every time I'd given them money in the past 3 years, logged and categorized. Next to that, screenshots of their social media posts, showing their spending during the same time periods. The pattern was damning. I'd give them $500 for rent, and 2 weeks later they'd post photos from a weekend trip to the coast. I'd cover their car insurance, and the next month Melissa would be showing off a new purse that cost more than the insurance payment. They've been using us, Jenny said flatly. Using you, specifically. You give them money for emergencies, and they use it to fund their lifestyle. That's speculation. Is it? Look at the numbers, Hank. This isn't speculation. This is a pattern. I looked at the numbers. She was right. Of course she was right. But acknowledging it meant acknowledging that my son had been lying to me for years. That every tearful phone call about unpaid bills had been manipulation. That every promise to pay me back had been empty words. What's the message about then? I asked, changing the subject. The one about you eating your own food? I've been thinking about that, and I have a theory, which is, they want us to be dependent on them, or at least, they want to make us feel like we are. By getting you fired, by cutting off your income temporarily, they thought they'd put us in a position where we'd need their help, where we'd be grateful for anything they offered. That's insane. Is it? Think about what's happened. Dale tells Patrick you're going to be fired. Patrick doesn't warn you. You lose your job. Patrick and Melissa show up immediately, assessing the damage. When they find out you're fine, that you have another job lined up, they switch tactics and ask for money. When that doesn't work, Patrick sends a message basically saying we're on our own, that he's not going to support us anymore. But he's never supported us. Exactly. Which means that message isn't about reality. It's about creating a narrative. He wants to be able to tell people, his friends, his social media followers, whoever, that he offered to help and we rejected him. That we're prideful and stubborn and wouldn't accept assistance. That way when they... She stopped abruptly. When they what? Jenny closed the laptop slowly. I think they're planning to ask us for something big, not money, something else. And they're setting up the story ahead of time so that when we say no, we're the bad guys. Ask us for what? I don't know yet, but the house is paid off. We have equity. We have savings. We have resources they might want access to. My phone buzzed. Another message from Patrick. Just so you know, we're telling everyone what you said yesterday. About us having poor financial choices. Real classy, Dad. Real supportive. So it was starting. The narrative construction. He was already out there spinning his version of events. Let him, Jenny said, reading the message over my shoulder. Let him tell everyone. The truth will come out eventually. Will it? Or will his version be the one that sticks? That depends on what we do next. Which is what? She opened the laptop again and pulled up a new document. We document everything. Every interaction. Every message. Every request for money. And every time we've helped them. We build our own timeline. You want to go to war with our son? I want to be prepared. There's a difference. She looked at me, and her expression was harder than I'd ever seen it. They started this, Hank. Dale and Patrick. Whatever they're planning, whatever game they're playing, they involved us without our consent. So yes, I want to be prepared. Saturday morning, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. 15 missed calls, 23 text messages, all from numbers I didn't recognize. I scrolled through the messages with growing dread. Is it true you're abusing your wife? Shame on you for treating your son like that? Patrick told us everything. You should be ashamed. Elder abuse is a serious crime. Someone should report you. I showed the phone to Jenny, who was already up and making coffee. She read through the messages without expression. He's weaponizing social media, she said, turning people against us before we can defend ourselves. Do we defend ourselves? Not yet. Let him overplay his hand. The more he does this, the more desperate he looks. But it didn't feel desperate. It felt coordinated, planned, like Patrick had a strategy and was executing it step by step. The loan application that was designed to fail. The elder abuse report that was designed to plant doubt. Now the social media campaign that was designed to isolate us. He learned this from someone, I said. Patrick isn't smart enough to come up with this on his own. Dale? Maybe. Or Melissa. She's always been good at manipulation. Jenny pulled up Patrick's social media on her laptop. His latest post was from 2 hours ago. Sometimes family disappoints you. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you turn their backs when you need them most. To everyone who's reached out, thank you. Your support means everything right now. The comments were overwhelmingly sympathetic. Dozens of people offering support, sharing their own stories of family betrayal, calling us terrible parents. One comment stood out. From Dale Mitchell, my former boss. Hang in there. Some people never learn the value of loyalty. There it is, Jenny said, pointing at Dale's comment. Confirmation that they're connected. That this is coordinated. But why? What does Dale get out of this? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. She spent the next hour digging through social media connections, trying to map the relationship between Patrick, Melissa, and Dale. I went outside to work on the fence, needing physical activity to clear my head. The fence repair was satisfying work, simple, straightforward, with clear results. Unlike the mess my family life had become, where nothing made sense and every action had hidden motives. I was 2 posts into the repair when a car pulled up. Not Patrick's Civic. A dark blue sedan, expensive, with tinted windows. The driver got out. A man in his 40s wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage used to be. Hank Reynolds? He called out. Who's asking? Robert Chen. I'm a private investigator. He pulled out a business card and handed it to me across the fence. I've been hired to look into allegations of elder abuse. Your daughter-in-law filed a formal complaint. I'm aware, and I've already spoken to social services. There's no abuse. I'm not with social services, I'm private, hired by concerned family members to ensure your well-being. Concerned family members who tried to steal my house? Robert Chen's expression didn't change. I'm aware of the loan application incident. I'm also aware that you filed a police report against your own son. That kind of family conflict often indicates deeper issues. The only issue here is that my son is a liar and a thief. That's one perspective. Your son's perspective is quite different. He's concerned about your mental state, your susceptibility to outside influence, and your recent erratic behavior. Erratic behavior? Like what? Sudden job loss, financial decisions that don't match your historical patterns, aggressive confrontations with family members, refusal to accept help. He pulled out a tablet. I've been authorized to offer mediation services, a neutral third party to help resolve family conflicts before they escalate further. I don't need mediation. I need my son to stop committing fraud. The loan application was withdrawn before any funds changed hands. Legally, it's a gray area. But your response, filing a police report, cutting off contact, refusing financial assistance, those actions have consequences. They create a pattern. I was starting to understand. This wasn't about protecting me. This was about building a case, building documentation, creating a paper trail that made me look unstable, unreasonable, possibly incompetent. Get off my property, I said. Mr. Reynolds, I'm trying to help. You're trying to help Patrick build a case for something. I don't know what yet, but that's what this is. So get off my property before I call the police. Robert Chen smiled slightly. Threats against someone trying to help you. That'll be in my report. He got back in his car and drove away slowly, deliberately, making sure I saw him taking photos of the house with his phone. Jenny came outside as the car disappeared around the corner. Who was that? Private investigator, hired by Patrick and Melissa to document my erratic behavior. Jesus, they're really doing this. Doing what, though? What's the endgame? I think I might know, Jenny said. She was holding her laptop. Come inside. You need to see this. We sat at the kitchen table and she pulled up a legal document. I was searching for cases involving Patrick's name, just curious what might be out there publicly, and I found this, a civil complaint filed last month, Patrick and Melissa Reynolds versus the estate of Martha Peterson. Who's Martha Peterson? She was, past tense. She died 6 months ago, age 73, and according to this complaint, Patrick and Melissa are claiming she promised them money, that she verbally agreed to help them pay off debts in exchange for them providing care and companionship in her final months. Did they? Provide care? No. According to the defense response, Patrick and Melissa visited Martha exactly 4 times, but they're claiming emotional support, claiming she verbally promised them $50,000, claiming the family is wrongfully withholding funds. My stomach dropped. They're trying the same thing with us. Yes, think about it. The elder abuse reports, the private investigator, the documentation of your erratic behavior. They're building a case to claim you're mentally incompetent, that you're being manipulated by me, that they're the ones trying to help and we're the ones refusing reasonable assistance. But we're not elderly. I'm 58. You're 56. The legal definition varies. In some contexts, 55 qualifies. But that's not really the point. The point is, they're creating a narrative. And if they can get any kind of finding from social services or medical professionals that you're experiencing diminished capacity, even temporarily due to stress from losing your job, they can challenge your financial decisions, maybe even seek conservatorship. That's insane. Is it? Look at what they've done so far. The loan application, the abuse reports, the private investigator, the social media campaign. These aren't random acts, they're steps in a process. I looked at the civil complaint again. Patrick and Melissa were claiming $50,000 from a dead woman they'd barely known, and when that didn't work, they'd turned their attention to us. How do we stop them? We need our own documentation, our own evidence, and we need to show them we're not easy targets. How? Jenny closed the laptop with a decisive snap. We go on offense. No more reacting, no more defending. We show them exactly what happens when they come after us. I'm listening. First, we contact the family in the Martha Peterson case. We offer to testify about Patrick and Melissa's pattern of targeting elderly people for money. Second, we file our own report with Adult Protective Services. About them, not us. Document their attempts to manipulate, their fraudulent loan application, their harassment. Third, we make noise. Social media, community groups, everywhere they've been spreading their version of events, we tell ours, with evidence. That'll make things worse. No. What'll make things worse is letting them control the narrative. Right now, everyone thinks we're terrible parents who abandoned our struggling son. We need to show the truth, that they're con artists who tried to steal our house. She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of airing all this publicly, of turning private family drama into public spectacle, made my skin crawl. We don't have to decide right now, Jenny said, reading my expression. But we need to be ready, because they're not stopping, and the next thing they try is going to be bigger. The rest of Saturday passed quietly. Too quietly. No calls from Patrick. No threatening messages. No unexpected visitors. It felt like the eye of a hurricane, that brief calm before the second half of the storm hits. Sunday morning, I went to the hardware store for supplies to finish the fence repair. The clerk, a kid named Tommy who I'd known since he was in middle school, gave me an odd look when I checked out. "Everything okay, Mr. Reynolds?" he asked. "Fine. Why?" I saw some stuff online about you and your son. People are talking. Let them talk. My mom wanted me to tell you that she doesn't believe any of it. She knows you're good people." It was a small kindness, but it hit harder than I expected. I thanked him and left before I could get emotional about it. When I got home, Jenny was on the phone in the kitchen, her voice low and serious. She hung up as I came in. "That was Detective Morrison from the Fraud Division. They want to interview us tomorrow morning, about Patrick's loan application." That was fast. They're treating it as potential identity theft, since Patrick tried to use our information without authorization. Morrison said they take these cases seriously, especially when family members are involved. Did they talk to Patrick? Not yet. They wanted our statement first. We're supposed to go to the station at 10. I spent the rest of Sunday trying to focus on anything but the impending police interview. Finished the fence, cleaned the garage, did laundry. Normal Sunday tasks that felt surreal, given everything else happening. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but Jenny gestured for me to pick up. "Mr. Reynolds, this is James Blackstone. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time." My new employer. Calling on a Sunday evening. "No, it's fine. Is something wrong?" "Not at all. I wanted to give you a heads up about something. I received a call Friday evening from someone claiming to be conducting a background check on you. Asked some questions about your character, your reliability, whether I had any concerns about your mental stability." "What did you tell them?" "I told them to go to hell. Background checks go through HR and we already completed yours. This was something else. Someone fishing for information, possibly trying to damage your reputation before you even start. It was probably my son, or someone he hired. That's what I figured. I wanted you to know that whatever's going on in your personal life, it doesn't affect your position here. You're hired based on your qualifications and experience. Family drama is irrelevant." "Thank you. I appreciate that. One more thing. If anyone else calls asking about you, I'm going to refer them to our legal department. Just a heads up." After we hung up, I looked at Jenny. "They're trying to sabotage my new job." "Of course they are. If you don't have income, you're more vulnerable, more likely to cave to their demands. This has to stop." "It will. Tomorrow, when we talk to the police, we give them everything, every message, every threat, every manipulation. We let them see the full picture." That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Patrick as a kid. The way he'd run to meet me when I got home from work. The way he'd sit in the garage while I fixed things, asking endless questions about how everything worked. The way he'd looked at me like I was the smartest person in the world. When had that changed? When had I gone from hero to ATM to enemy? Or had I always been blind? Had I missed the signs? Had Patrick always been this person and I just refused to see it? Monday morning arrived gray and cold, the kind of November day that promises snow but delivers only freezing rain. We drove to the police station in silence, both of us mentally preparing for what we'd have to say. Detective Morrison was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led us to an interview room that smelled like bad coffee and old paperwork. "Thank you for coming in," she said, pulling out a digital recorder. "I need to record this interview. Is that okay?" We both nodded. "Walk me through the incident with the loan application. Start from the beginning." I told her everything. The credit union call, Patrick's history of asking for money, the attempted fraud. Morrison took notes and asked clarifying questions. "Did your son have any legitimate reason to believe he was authorized to use your property as collateral?" "No. He's never been on the deed, never had any ownership stake in our home." "Was he ever given verbal permission to apply for loans in your name?" "Absolutely not." Morrison pulled out her tablet and showed us the loan application. "This is a copy from the credit union. Can you verify that these are not your signatures?" The signatures were crude forgeries, close enough to pass a casual inspection, but clearly not mine or Jenny's handwriting. "Those aren't our signatures," Jenny confirmed. "And you didn't give your son permission to sign on your behalf?" "No." Morrison made more notes. "I'm going to be honest with you. These cases are difficult. Because it's family, there's often pressure to drop charges, and prosecutors are reluctant to pursue cases where victims might change their minds." "We're not changing our minds," I said. "I believe you, but I need to tell you what this process looks like. We'll refer this to the county prosecutor's office. They'll review the evidence and decide whether to file charges. If they do, your son will be arrested and arraigned. There'll be a trial. You'll have to testify. It will be public. It will be ugly." "We understand," Jenny said. "Do you? Because once this goes forward, there's no taking it back. Your relationship with your son will be permanently damaged. Family members will take sides. Friends will judge you. This will affect your lives in ways you can't anticipate." "He already damaged the relationship," I said. "He did that when he tried to steal our house." Morrison nodded slowly. "Okay, then I need you to look at something else." She pulled up another document. "This is a complaint filed by your daughter-in-law with social services, claiming you're experiencing mental decline, that you're being manipulated by your wife, that you're making irrational financial decisions. Are you aware of this?" "Yes. Someone from legal aid came to our house." "And there's this." She showed us another document. "A report from a private investigator named Robert Chen, hired by your son, documenting your allegedly erratic behavior." "I know. He showed up Saturday." "Here's what concerns me," Morrison said, leaning forward. "These complaints, combined with the fraud attempt, suggest a pattern. Your son and daughter-in-law are building a case, not just for fraud, but for something bigger. Have you heard the term financial exploitation of vulnerable adults?" "Yes." They're trying to flip the script, make you look like the exploiter, not them. If they can establish that you're mentally declining or being controlled by your wife, they can challenge your competency, possibly seek guardianship, get access to your finances legally. Jenny's hand found mine under the table. "How do we stop them?" "You do exactly what you're doing. Document everything. Cooperate with investigations. Show that you're competent, rational, and acting independently. And you consider getting an attorney, not just for the fraud case, but for everything else they might try. We can't afford an attorney. There are legal aid services for elder abuse victims. I can give you some referrals." She slid a paper across the table. But you need to understand something. Your son isn't going to stop. People like this, people who try to exploit family members, they don't give up. They escalate. Whatever they try next will be bigger and more aggressive than what they've tried so far." We finished the interview and drove home in heavy silence. The reality of what we were facing was sinking in. This wasn't just a family argument. This was a legal battle, potentially a criminal case, and Patrick was willing to destroy us completely to get what he wanted. "We need that attorney," Jenny said as we pulled into the driveway. "Morrison is right. This is bigger than we thought." "With what money? I haven't even started the new job yet." "With whatever we have, this is more important than anything else." She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of spending thousands on legal fees to defend ourselves against our own son felt like another violation, another way Patrick was taking from us. Inside, I changed into work clothes for my first day at Blackstone Consulting. The orientation was at 1, which gave me a couple of hours to decompress from the police interview. Jenny made sandwiches for lunch. We ate in the kitchen, not talking, both lost in our own thoughts. "This is it, you know," I said finally. "The point of no return. Once we hire an attorney, once the prosecutor files charges, we can't go back. Patrick will be our enemy permanently." "He's already our enemy, Hank. He just hasn't realized we're fighting back yet." My phone buzzed, a message from Patrick. "Last chance. Drop the charges, apologize publicly for the false accusations, and give us the loan we need, or things get much worse for you." I showed Jenny the message. She read it twice, then took my phone and forwarded it to Detective Morrison. "Evidence," she said. "He's threatening us. That's illegal. He's our son. He's a criminal, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner we can protect ourselves." She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing it and feeling it were two different things. Part of me still saw that little boy in the garage, asking questions about how engines worked. Another part saw a stranger who was willing to destroy his own parents for money. I didn't know which image was real. Maybe both were. Maybe people contained multitudes, good and bad existing simultaneously. Or maybe I'd just been blind for 30 years, seeing what I wanted to see instead of what was really there. "I need to get ready for orientation," I said, standing up. "Hank." Jenny's voice stopped me. "Whatever happens next, whatever Patrick does, we face it together, like we always have. Okay?" "Okay." I drove to Blackstone Consulting with my mind split between the new job and the legal nightmare waiting at home. The orientation was standard: paperwork, introductions, office tour, IT setup. Amanda Chen walked me through everything efficiently. "You'll start on the Riverside project tomorrow," she said. "It's a big one. Residential and commercial development, scheduled to break ground in 6 months. Your job is to manage the operations logistics. Make sure every contractor, every vendor, every permit is coordinated perfectly." "I can do that." "I know you can. That's why Mr. Blackstone specifically requested you." It felt good to be wanted, to be valued for my skills rather than my wallet, to have someone say, "I know you can," instead of, "I need money." The orientation wrapped up at 5. I drove home feeling better than I had in days, like maybe there was light at the end of this tunnel, like maybe things would be okay. That optimism lasted until I pulled into my driveway and saw the spray paint. Red letters, 2 feet high, across our garage door. "Elder abuser." Jenny was standing in the front yard with her phone out, taking photos. A police car was parked on the street, an officer interviewing her. I got out of my truck and walked over on legs that felt like concrete. "When did this happen?" I asked. "Sometime between 1 and 4, Jenny said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "I was at the college teaching, came home and found this." The officer, young, probably fresh out of the academy, looked at me sympathetically. "We're treating this as vandalism and harassment. Since you've already filed reports about ongoing issues with your son, we're connecting this to those cases." "You think Patrick did this?" "Don't know yet. but it's an active investigation. We'll review security footage from neighbors if any exists. In the meantime, I'd suggest installing cameras of your own. After the officer left, Jenny and I stood in the driveway staring at our garage door. The red paint was already drying, the letters stark against the white door. "They're trying to drive us out," Jenny said quietly. "Make us so uncomfortable, so embarrassed, that we cave to their demands. It's working." "No, it's not, because we're not leaving, we're not backing down, and we're not letting them win." She pulled out her phone and took more photos. Then she posted them on social media with a caption. "This is what happens when you say no to fraud, when you refuse to enable adult children who want to steal from their parents. Someone vandalized our home today, but we're not intimidated, we're not backing down, and we're definitely not paying." The post went live. Within minutes, comments started appearing, some supportive, some accusing, some asking questions. The truth was finally out there, competing with Patrick's narrative. "Now what?" I asked. "Now we clean this up, install cameras, and wait for their next move, because there will be a next move. There always is." We spent the evening scrubbing paint off the garage door. It didn't come off completely. The paint had soaked into the wood grain, but we got it to the point where it was barely visible. A ghost of an accusation, fading, but not gone. By the time we finished, it was dark. We went inside, locked every door and window, and sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street for any sign of trouble. "Welcome to your new job," Jenny said with bitter humor. "Sorry your first day was ruined." "It wasn't ruined. The job is good. The people are good. This mess at home doesn't change that. Doesn't it? How can you focus on work when you're worried about what's happening here?" "I don't know, but I have to try. Because if I let Patrick destroy both my career and my peace of mind, then he really has won." We sat in silence for a long time, watching shadows move across the street, jumping at every car that passed, waiting for the next attack that we knew was coming. Because Jenny was right. Patrick wasn't done. He was just getting started, and whatever came next would be worse than anything we'd seen so far.